Have you ever considered what remains when everything you thought mattered is stripped away? When they take your voice, your reactions, your anger, leaving behind only silence. Do you know what that silence does? It consumes you from within, eating away at your soul until all that's left is an empty shell pretending to be whole. And you're starting to resemble that hollow version of yourself. People often believe pain is loud. They expect cries, fights, rage. But true pain, real suffering, it's quiet. It settles in your chest like a stone, suffocating you slowly. No response, no emotion, just nothingness. That emptiness is what's destroying you. And here's the cool irony. It's exactly what they wanted. They took from you, didn't they? They kept taking until there was nothing left to steal. And you, being the fool that you are, let them not because you were weak, but because you believed they'd stop. You thought if you stayed silent, if you didn't resist, they'd finally be satisfied. But people like them don't stop. They don't get satiated. They keep draining you until you're nothing more than a ghost haunting your own life. When they eventually glance at you, when they see what's left, they don't feel guilt. Oh no, they feel boredom. That's the joke the bitter, twisted joke life plays on those who dare to care too much. The moment you cease reacting, the moment you stop making noise, they stop noticing you entirely. You become invisible, discarded like a toy they've grown tired of, tossed aside and forgotten in some dark corner where no one looks. And there you stand, watching as the world moves forward without you. Tell me, how does that feel? How does it feel knowing you meant so little to them that once you stopped creating drama, they ceased seeing you as human? It hurts, doesn't it? Deeply. Because you spent your entire life striving to be good, kind, someone worth caring about. Yet the truth is harsh. People rarely care. Those who pretended otherwise were merely using you, draining you dry until you had nothing left to give. Now, here you area walking corpse. Not dead, not yet, but not truly alive either. Just existing, drifting through days like a shadow, empty, hollow, carrying a quiet misery that gnaws at your very essence. This is the worst kind of death, the kind that keeps you breathing, but kills everything else inside you. But listen closely, because this silence they forced upon you isn't permanent. It's a choicea prison you built for yourself out of fear. You thought shutting the world out, stopping yourself from feeling or caring would protect you from further harm. Perhaps it did for a time, but now it's consuming you. You have a decision to make. Remain trapped in that prison, rotting away while they win, or burn it all down and rise anew. I know what you're thinking. You don't think you have it in you. You believe you're too far gone, too broken, too lost to recover. But that's another lie they fed you. Let me tell you something about survivors like us. We don't break. We bend, we shatter, we fall apart. Yes, but we never truly break. Instead, we adapt, we learn, and when we rise again, we're not the same fragile beings they left behind. We're stronger, sharper, unrecognizable to them. Do you understand what happens when someone stops seeking their approval, stops craving their validation? They become dangerous. unpredictable. They stop playing by the rules set by others, stop waiting for permission. Suddenly, the ones who used to control them don't know how to handle them anymore. Why do you think they fear people like me? It's not because I'm violent or chaotic. No, it's because I don't give a damn. I don't seek their love, acceptance, or pity. I don't let their opinions define me. And that terrifies them. Because the moment you stop needing them, you reclaim your power. That's precisely what you need to take it back. Remind them who they're dealing with. Show them that you're not the broken, defeated thing they assumed you'd become. You must stop being silent, stop being invisible, stop letting their neglect, betrayal, and indifference turn you into a shell of your former self. You're still here, aren't you? Still breathing, still standing. That means you still have fight left in you. And I don't care how exhausted you are, how much it hurts, or how much you want to disappear, you don't get to give up. Not now, not ever. Because the second you give up, they win. And I hate losing. Get up. Get angry. Become unstoppable. Start living as though you have nothing left to lose. Because when you stop caring about their approval, their love, their validation, do you think they'll come back if you wait long enough? Do you imagine one day they'll wake up and realize what they did to you? The truth is, that day will never come. They don't reflect on their actions, don't replay moments of cruelty in their minds, don't lose sleep over abandoning you. No, they sleep soundly while you sit there, choking on the silence they left behind, hoping against hope that maybe they'll notice you again. But they won't. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop bleeding for people who wouldn't shed a single tear for you. This world doesn't value individuals like you people who feel deeply, give freely, love without limits, and believe in virtues like loyalty, honesty, and decency. No, this world grinds such people down, spitting them out because rarity invites exploitation or destruction. And you allowed them to exploit you. You let them drain you until there was nothing left. Now, you're sitting in the wreckage, wondering why it hurts so much. But here's the reality. They made you believe it was your fault, that if you were less kind, less patient, less trusting, they might have stayed. That's a lie. They were always going to leave. People like them don't keep people like you. They use you, take what they need, and walk away without looking back. What did you do? You let them go without a word, without a fight, without even trying to hold on to what was yours. You embraced silence, believing it was safer than confrontation. But that silence is killing you. It's the absence of resistance, the lack of demand for the respect you deserve. You let them take pieces of you, treating you as though you were disposable. Now, you're left picking up the shattered remnants of yourself, trying to piece together something resembling wholeness. But let me tell you something about survivors: we don't stay broken. We rebuild. We resonate as the same vulnerable souls we once were, but as something else entirely. Once you've faced the raw truth of betrayal, abandonment, and loss, you can't return to who you were before. That person is gone, and perhaps that's for the best. Maybe they needed to die so you could see the world for what it truly is. Because now you know the game, you understand the rules, and most importantly, You recognize what happens to those who refuse to play along they're left behind, forgotten, reduced to mere memories that fade with time. So, what will you do? Will you continue waiting for apologies that will never come, wasting your days hoping someone will acknowledge your worth? Or will you take back your life? Let me assure you, no one is coming to save you. No one will extend a hand to pull you out of this darkness. It's just you now. And that, my friend, is your greatest strength. When you stop waiting, stop hoping, stop clinging to the past, that's when you become untouchable. That's when you stop bleeding, stop being prey. Build yourself back up from the ground, not as the weak, naive version of yourself they destroyed, but as something else entirely. Transform into someone they fear, someone they can never hurt again. The best revenge isn't rage, violence, or proving them wrong. It's becoming something so far beyond their reach that they can't even comprehend the version of you rising from the ashes. They expect you to break, to fade into obscurity, to become irrelevant. But what they don't anticipate is you turning that silence into something unstoppable. They thrive on your pain, your tears, your desperate attempts to make them care. But the moment you stop feeding them that energy, the moment you stop reacting, they lose control. They lose their grip. They lose the power they held over you. And that, my friend, is your ultimate weapon. Stop waiting. Stop bleeding. Stop being the person they left behind. Start becoming the person they'll regret losing. One day they'll turn around and realize you're no longer where they left you. Oh, it will hit them like a freight train. They thought you'd always be there, waiting patiently for their return. But now they find nothing but cold indifference. No response, no emotion, just an impenetrable wall where once there was vulnerability. That's what destroys them. They need you to care, to react, to validate their existence in your life. But when they discover you've moved on, when they realize you no longer live in their shadow, they panic. They start questioning every choice, every mistake, leading them to the devastating conclusion that they lost something valuable, something irreplaceable, and by then it will be too late. Because you don't dwell in the past. You don't waste your breath on people who wouldn't spare a second for you. You're moving forward, building, creating, becoming something they couldn't possibly imagine. Meanwhile, they remain stuck in their cycles of emptiness, forever chasing a version of you that no longer exists. That's the real joke, isn't it? They thought they could discard you and move on without consequence, never considering that you might outgrow them, never imagining that you'd take their rejection and transform it into something extraordinary. And so they're haunted by what they lost. In the silence, they abandoned you too. You built something they never saw coming, a mind too sharp to be manipulated, a soul too resilient to be broken, a heart too scarred to be played with again. That terrifies them, because people like them need someone to dominate, someone to feed off of, someone who will endlessly surrender parts of themselves. But you're done giving, done bleeding, for people who never tried to stop the bleeding. Isn't it ironic how they never noticed when you were drowning? But now that you've clawed your way to solid ground, now that you've risen from the wreckage they left behind, suddenly they care. Not for you, no, but for what they lost. For what they let slip through their fingers while chasing trivial pursuits. Here's the thing, they don't get another chance. While they wasted time playing games and treating others as disposable, you evolved. You learned. You became something greater than they ever imagined possible. Now, they're nothing but footnotes in your story reminders of who you used to be. Lessons etched so deeply into your skin that you'll never repeat the same mistakes. That's the difference between you and them. They destroy and move on, oblivious to the damage they leave in their wake. But you took that destruction and forged something new from it. You turned broken fragments into armor. You transformed their silence into power. And now you're the one deciding who has access to you. You control the narrative. They're left wondering, pondering how they lost someone who would have given them the world. But you won't bother answering. They expected you to stay hurt, to stay waiting, to stay broken. Instead, you took that pain and sharpened it into a lethal weapon. You took every betrayal, every rejection, every moment of neglect, and turned it into fuel. Now, you burn to them to even look at you directly. That, my friend, is just a CNOT in the way they understand it. Not in vengeance or spite, but in the quiet, undeniable fact that you no longer need them, that you never really did. The only power they ever had was over the version of you who still cared. But that version is gone, replaced by someone who has no room for their ghosts. In the end, the ones who believed they could live without you are always the ones who realize too late that they never truly could. In the silence they abandoned you to, something shifts not for you. You've already moved on, already turned your back, already carved a path so distant they wouldn't recognize you if they tried. No, the shift happens within them. It creeps in slowly, a whisper at first, a small tug in the back of their minds, an unease they can't shake, a quiet, suffocating sense of loss gnaws at them when they least expect it. At first, they convince themselves it's nothing. They push it down, ignore it, drown it out with distractions, noise, anything to avoid confronting it. But forgetting that's the one thing they can't do, because you weren't like the others. You weren't someone they could replace with a cheap imitation. As they sink deeper into this realization, they begin to see it, the moments they overlooked, the kindness they dismissed, the loyalty they took for granted. It plays in their minds like a film they can't pause, a relentless reminder that the thing they took for granted is gone forever. And that's the cruelest part. They notice the gravity of their choices only after it's too late. They don't experience a sudden epiphany, a grand revelation of how much they hurt you. No, it's slower than that, more insidious. It seeps into their carefully constructed facades, slipping through cracks they never thought to protect. At first, it's just a thought, a fleeting regret, a minor ache they brush aside. But then it lingers, grows, becomes impossible to ignore. They notice things now. The silence that once brought them peace feels hollow. The distractions that once entertained them seem meaningless. The people they replaced you with don't measure up. The laughter isn't genuine. The conversations lack depth. The connections feel shallow. Piece by piece, they start to feel it, that absence, that loss, that unbearable weight pressing down on them. And little by little, they come to understand the enormity of what they've lost. But you You don't even notice. You don't feel the shift. You don't sense their regret or hear the echoes of their longing because you've moved so far beyond it that it doesn't register anymore. You're not looking back. You're not waiting for a reckoning. You're not hoping for an apology. You're too busy building, creating, living, filling your world with things that make you whole, surrounding yourself with people who appreciate your worth, pursuing a purpose so strong that their absence doesn't cast a shadow, and that is what destroys them the most. Not your anger, not your hatred, not even your pain, but your absence. Your complete, unshakable absence, while you were always prepared to live without them. They never prepared to live without you. Now, they're left wandering through the ruins of what they destroyed, searching for a way back into a life that no longer has space for them. But you keep walking. Keep moving forward, never pausing, never hesitating, letting the ghosts of the past drag you back into a place you've already outgrown. Because this is what freedom looks like. Not revenge, not retribution, but a quiet, unwavering refusal to ever let them take another piece of you again. And that, my friend, is your victory. Because in the end, the ones who thought they could live without you are always the ones who realize too late that they never truly could. In the silence they abandoned you to, they find themselves confronted with the weight of their own Akshantsa burden they cannot escape. They thought they had forever, that they could dip in and out of your life as they pleased, keeping you as a safety net, a last resort, a backup plan. But people like you don't wait forever. You don't sit in the ruins of what was, hoping for something that will never be. You take what you've learned, what you've survived, and use it to build something unbreakable. And now, they're left searching, wondering, wishing for something that no longer exists. Watching from a distance as you carve a new path, as you become someone untouchable, someone they no longer have access to. That will be their punishment, not because you sought revenge, not because you played their game, but because you refused to let them define you. Because you stopped being a player in their story and started writing your own. One day, oh one day, it will hit them with full force in a moment of anger, not in a moment of regret, but in a moment of absolute clarity. When they realize they had something real, something rare, something irreplaceable, and they let it slip through their fingers. The weight of that realization, the knowledge that they'll never have another chance, will be the heaviest thing they ever have to carry. But you won't even notice, because by then, you'll be so far ahead, so completely free, that their absence won't even register as a loss. It will be nothing more than a distant echo, a whisper lost in the wind, a lesson written in the past, but never carried into the future. Because you're done being someone's regret, someone's afterthought, someone's second choice. From this moment forward, you're only moving in one direction forward. And nothing, no one, not even the ghosts of your past, will ever be able to pull you back again.